First of all, to Mahad, who is with me this morning. Hello, Mahad. Let me hold that for you. Mahad, you escaped from your flat on the 4th floor. Tell us what happened.
It was just before 1 a.m. My wife and I were in the sitting room. The kids were sleeping, obviously.
You have two young children.
Two young children, 2-year-old and a 3-year-old, boy and a girl. We were, there was a sudden bang at the door just before 1, and when I went to investigate, and I was greeted by a smoke and some dark cloud.
So the bang at the door was someone knocking on your door to wake you up?
To alert us, and once I opened the door there was so much smoke, I shut the door right back. There was no one standing there because obviously the person attempted to knock further more doors, at which point I closed the door, got some towels, wet them. I alerted my wife down the corridor screaming, "There's fire, fire, get out." So we wetted up some towels, went into the kids' room, wrapped them and the towels over their heads, and proceeded to just exit the premises. Where it was so dark and so much smoke was there. There was people running down the stairs. It was people, some people even had some luggages. It was just so much confusion. There was no sound of alarm or bells whatsoever.
Is there a fire alarm in Grenfell Tower?
Generally, there would have been a fire alarm that would go off in such incidents, but there was none. And we only heard the alarm after 1:30 a.m. So this was like an actual fail in terms of safety measures that should have been in place to alert the residents.
So no fire alarm, but someone not banging on your door. You get your wife, you get your 2 young children.
I knocked also on a neighbour that was on my right hand side, where I gave a good 2 kicks. Just kept running because at this point I didn't want the kids to be inhaling any more smoke. This is so dangerous. I didn't want to collapse in the middle of it. We had to make sure.
Could you, as you were trying to run down the stairs, how far ahead of you could you see? How dark was it?
It was too dark. It was too dark. You could barely arm's length. The whole fire started off on the 4th floor, and I live on the 4th floor. How do you know that? Because once we were going down the stairs and we came to the ground floor, exiting the premises, I was confronted by my neighbour who lives at number 16. He said, "Look, are you okay?" He was checking me and the kids. I said, "You alright? Are you okay? Is your wife out?" Because I do know that his wife also resides in the premises. So I did show concern, and I said, "Where is your wife? I haven't seen her." He said, "No, it was just me. It was my house. My fridge exploded."
The guy who lives next door to you on the 4th floor said his fridge exploded.
He said his fridge exploded. At which point the fire brigade were well aware of it. The supervisors in, the senior fire brigades were also there when they took some statement or some sort of understanding from him and what was going on.
Mahad, sorry to interrupt. What time was that then? But what time was it when you got out at the bottom of your block of flats?
This is no later than 1:10. This is no later than 1:10.
And at that point, there was smoke on the 4th floor, down the stairwell.
Down the stairwell.
Clearly in your next door neighbour's flat.
Yep, it's going up to the 5th floor through the stairs. The doors were just open because people are just constantly going in and out.
When you got out and you looked up at the tower block, where did you see flames, or did you not at that point?
No. When we got out, we were the first, I would say, 10 families that would have been out of that premises, to be honest with you. With speed and just quick precision, just went out. Now, there was very small amounts of fire on the whole premises. It would have been no higher than an average tree's height.
Okay.
And this would be in 3 rows of panels that were on fire. That we were by the green underneath Grenfell, where I had my child in my arm, and I said, "Well, look, there's fire. Do you see?" And he was fascinated by that at what point, because it's only 3 windows.
But at that point, did it look to you as though the emergency services are here? There's going to be more of them. They'll project the water onto the blaze.
It seemed like it was controllable. Everyone was confident it was controllable. We were very close to the building. What happened then is very, very rapidly the flames started climbing up towards the right column of Grenfell Tower. We were, like I said, we're the first few people, and we're seeing fire brigade, we're seeing in emergency services, we see it as it can be tackled. We see it as half of this building will not be affected. We see as they can probably swing this fire engines around, but there were bollards. There's bollards that are blocking off the fire brigades from coming into the green and then parking themselves in a convenient. There were hosts everywhere. Fire brigade were doing their best.
Yeah.
They were gathering information and intelligence from the residents who came out as to where the incident and the fire was taking place, what they know so far. So the residents were giving us much information to the fire services, but whereas also there was a sense of hesitation from the fire brigade because they weren't willing to tackle this. It was not tackled straight away, in the sense this hose and the fire brigade, the activity started well late into, say, 2 o'clock, maybe even 3 p.m. 3 a.m. Sorry.
Okay.
Now,
I mean, that's not the information that we're getting from the fire brigade, but
no, they were well early into it. But in terms of tackling the fire and letting out the water out and more support units for the fire brigade arriving, it was not until about 3 a.m. This took quite a significant amount of time. Even my personal house keys was what I gave to the fire brigade, as they couldn't gain access to the building itself. So when we were out, we came just to the front door. I sat the kids down, we patted them up. Are you okay? It's just right here. The door slammed shut. The fire brigade couldn't even get into the building. Okay. Only people were coming out, and if our second door was to shut, they couldn't. So at one point I said, hey, there is my key, take the fob. So I gave them my fob.
But they can smash the door down. They don't need, I mean...
But they were stuck. They had a lot of equipment they wanted to take into the premises. And some of the equipment I saw taken in there was oxygen tanks. Right. So I'm assuming with the stay put policy in Grenfell Tower, and in the case of emergency services and fire, there's a stay put policy. So
sorry, I'm going to ask you about that, Mahad. What do you mean there is a stay put policy? Who is imposing that policy? Where is that coming from?
There is a sticker on all around every floor by the lifts that says, in case of an emergency, there's a stay put policy for if you are within your premises, stay put. So in this case, where I am assuming this, because they're going out, they were going to take as much oxygen tanks out, which is a very feasible idea, and it's good, it's striking. It's very good judgment. But access and not gaining access, and also the fire support units not having the right access into the building was a bit of a struggle. Sure. By this time, the right column of the building was already engulfed in flames. The left-hand side of the building and the middle column, where it would be the stairwell, looked empty, cleaner, and less disturbances. Okay. At which point there was a lot more explosions, there's a lot more bangs, there's a lot more like purple, blue flames. It was rapid. The fire was going well out of control.
Can I ask you why you think the fire consumed Grenfell Tower so speedily? We don't know, but you've lived there for how long?
I've lived there since February, but since February I have been campaigning against the shortfalls that has been happening at Grenfell Tower. I have been speaking to the housing officers and KCTMO representatives about gas pipes being installed in the stairwell, which is hazardous and which could be temperamental, and in case of a fire, which could easily explode. Now, this is one of the things that is causing a lot of people to not go down the stairs, as they knew there was a new gas pipes being installed. With the explosions, the people on a higher level would have assumed to stay in their place, as it's much more safe. Okay. There is no lift in this situation. There's only the stairs. The stairs is smoke, it's dark, it's scary, it's trip hazard, there's fall hazard, there's all sorts, there's elderly, there's children, there's disabled people, it's all sorts of, there's luggages in the stairwell. Right. Even some of the stairwell, some lights were not working. So it was so dark in there. It's incredible. It's incredible we survived. So many people were left inside. We had so many relatives and families and friends that called and said, we are still trapped in. Let the fire services know that we are still here. We are trapped. There's a kid that called and said he was trapped in his room. So it's a very horrible situation. Lives have been lost. I can't confirm lives have been lost. There has been fatalities of some of our friends, some of our families, some of our loved ones, our neighbors.
I'm really sorry.
It's heartaching. It really is. You just don't know. Right now, we can only offer prayers. We can only offer support to the people who've lost loved ones. We can only pray for those who have passed away. We can only praise the fire services for their efforts. We can only praise the emergency services for their efforts in trying to make some sort of sense and save as many people as they can. This was really horrific. There's people who were jumping out of the plane. There's a man who threw 2 of his children. Oh, man.
Wow.
We saw a lot. We saw a lot, man. We saw a lot with our own eyes. We saw friends, families.
Oh,
we saw fun.
Honestly, it's all right. You don't have to say anymore. I'm so sorry. Wow. Simone.